Welcome back to Author Mastery Insights, 3 of 3 with Dr. George Gonzalez. This is an epic conversation, and I am with this incredible, renowned lecturer, breakthrough author, and developer of quantum neurology, Dr. George Gonzalez. And today we're going beyond his incredible book, Holographic Healing: 5 Keys to Nervous System Consciousness, as well as discussing writing an anthology series within a specific genre. If you have not seen my interviews with Dr. George, part 1 and 2 of this, go watch that. The last 2 weeks have been really incredible, unfolding some deep insights, not only in quantum neurology, but the ideas that can lead to writing great books. And we're going to explore that even more deeply. They're going to offer the great context to these conversations. But today, I want to talk about anthologies. I know that you have a host of your students of quantum neurology, Dr. George, have written books, incredible books that have expanded the chiropractic paradigm, and particularly, quantum neurology within their practices and within the communities. So I want to have a look at those. I know you've got a couple of those books there. Can we start there? Can you hold those books up and give a brief introduction to those books before we dive deep into the ideas of anthology writing?
Absolutely. So it started with my book, Holographic Healing, 5 Keys to Nervous System Consciousness. And then I had several students that I challenged, to add to the conversation. And we had Dr. Woodrow Beck write 21st Century Chiropractic. And then we had Dr. Chris Cormier write The Hidden Diagnosis. And then Dr. Edward Chauvin, he started with this book, I'm Worried Sick About My Health. And then he and I wrote together the I Am Loving Myself Healthy, Physician Heal Thyself book about the parasympathetic exercises. And so, all these books together, they create a conversation, right? And the conversation, it brings more communication about the principle of nervous system rehabilitation, which is a newer concept. And of course, quantum neurology being a focal point in that, but it's not the only thing. They're talking about other principles that are important to them and what they want to share with their patients. And it's powerful to be able to demonstrate to communities of chiropractors and other healers that you could have a whole community that's talking about the conversation that's important to you and bringing it all together into a team of conversations or a team of books that all point towards each other. And I think in the profession of chiropractic, this is really important. You had mentioned earlier, we're all experts, right? Our whole community, we're experts in what we do. Each and every doctor deserves to have their own book. And all of the doctors are pointing towards natural healing, neurological rehabilitation, natural care, diet, exercise, all the things that we all care about as natural doctors of chiropractic. We're all in that same field, and the more books that are written on that subject, the more doctors identify themselves as experts in this field of conversation. The part of the reason why you're interviewing me is because I have a book, right? So that's an example of how important it is to have a book for yourself and your practice. And just to have that on the bookshelf for your patients, and you'd say, oh, it's in my book. And whether you want to focus on selling books or not, you could give out the PDF of your book, or you could sell the book. You have it on Amazon. There are strategies of getting your book to #1. We took I'm Loving Myself Healthy to #1 on the Amazon charts for several months. It was up there. And there's strategies of doing that. And it's powerful when you line everything up and you get the team of doctors that are talking on the same conversation, and they're going out there and spreading the message that we all care about. We all care about chiropractic and healing, and in my community, of course, quantum neurology and nervous system rehabilitation. And we're changing the paradigm from, the pain model of conversation to the brain model of conversation, and taking it out from, stopping care after their pain is gone to going after passion care, people staying in care to whether their passion is athletic performance or having more energy and time for their family. If we focus on the patient's passion, now people are more excited about being under care for a longer period of time, as opposed to, oh, my back doesn't hurt anymore, so why do I need to go in, right?
Amazing. Look, I'm going to raise 3 points there that just completely mesmerized me, and I know people listening to this are immediately going to realize that this is such a significant factor in how they are going to grow. The first thing you said was you challenged the students of quantum neurology. We're going to talk about challenge in a moment. Then you said that we added to the conversation. We're going to talk about that. And then third, you said you change paradigms. If you write a book and your practice members read it, then you are going to have influenced your practice. If you market it well and it becomes a bestseller, it can change your community's understanding of chiropractic. But the anthology of book idea, where groups of people are adding to the conversation, you can change paradigms. You can shift people away from pain to brain, from focusing on symptom-based care to understanding quantum neurology and therefore nervous system healing and optimization and expression of life. It's now a game changer to be able to educate not just your patients and community, but a worldwide network of people unifying a message through a combined combination that gets into the hearts and minds of multiple people in a strategic way. This is just insanely, incredibly powerful. But let's start with what you said. You challenged your students of quantum neurology to write books. Why did you challenge them, and how did they respond? Obviously, they've written a book, but what was the initial response to, hey, go out there, write a book?
Well, I started with learning from marketing companies, and I've trained with a lot of different people on how to market myself better and create a bigger name, because I knew the value of what I was doing, just nobody knew about it. And one thing that people would always say is, where's your book? And so, I didn't know how to write a book, so I hired a book writing coach and then went through that process. And then, it's really not that hard. It's just dedicating the time to doing it, finding the conversation that you want to have and that you want to share. And the easy thing to say is, what do you say to your patients every day? What do you say to your patients every single day that you want to put in a book? So you can just say, read my book, and it's all in there, and whether your focus is on performance and you want to talk about biomechanics, or whether it's nutrition and you want to focus on dietary changes or supplements or those kind of things, whatever it is that you're telling somebody every single day, that needs to be in a book or in a white paper or in an ebook. It needs to be in some format where you could deliver that content and change it from a one-to-one conversation to a one-to-many conversation. And that's really the big deal when it comes down to this, is how do I change my communication to multiple people as opposed to just one-on-one? As wonderful as one-on-one is, it changes the game when you start talking to multiple people simultaneously. And then challenging our doctors, it was just like, well, how do we make this exponential? And I challenged the doctors to write their own books. And, the ones who stepped up to the challenge, I showed you a few of them. There's other doctors that wrote books in not about quantum neurology, but about the focal points that they had in their life and their practice. But the challenge was made, and a lot of the doctors that did that, they haven't regretted it. It's one of those things that some doctors went on to write multiple books and just get their messages out there depending on what they were talking about. It's a game changer. As I mentioned in the last conversation, when you become an author, you're recognized as an author. It changes your status in society, because not everybody is willing to write a book. And so if you've taken the time to write a book, people recognize that, and they will always introduce you as an author, Dr. So-and-so, author of. And it's a powerful way to present yourself to other experts, to present yourself as an expert, and to elevate your communication to larger audiences. And if we just think of every doctor that you've seen on a news broadcast, what do they say? The author of whatever book that they wrote, right? It seems like people won't take you seriously as an expert until you've written a book. And it doesn't have to be a big book. My book, as you mentioned earlier, is 99 pages. It's a quick read. It's simple to read, but it has some profound concepts on the holographic healing, the holographic nervous system. And when I first started, it was 300 pages, but I had to narrow it down because I just wanted to keep the conversation as digestible as possible, and not go into the weeds on quantum physics and all those kind of things. And that was the other thing that I feel is important, is keep your message simple and add the layers to that conversation for those people that are more interested.
Layers can be your blog posts, your podcasts, or your videos, or additional books, or courses, or training programs that you do that allow you to extend and expand your message, your influence, monetize the extensive knowledge and information you have. And I just think it's such a profound message. So that second point, which is, add to the conversation. I'm going to tell a story before I actually ask you this question, because this is one of the things that I learned as an author, because everyone will have their own doubts. Oh, look, somebody's already written a book on quantum neurology. There doesn't need to be another one. If you're a quantum neurologist watching this, or if you're a brain-based specialist, there's already half a dozen books on brain-based chiropractic. I don't need to go there anymore. Before we go to that conversation, what I want to say is I've read Raymond E. Feast's book, The Magician, and Terry Brooks' book, Sword of Shannara, and all of the books around that, and then multiple fiction books in that same genre. What is true of people who read or listen to audiobooks or take in information on YouTube or read blogs is they don't read one thing and say, oh, I've got it. I don't need to read anything more or listen to anything more or learn anything more. Once they have an interest and it sparks that interest, it leads them to other authors in that genre to expand their relationship to that genre, to deepen their understanding, connection to that. And I used fiction as an example because most people will have said, yeah, and I've read Lord of the Rings as well. And so you have this, it goes wider and wider over time, not narrower and narrower, to say I've only read one book. So this idea of adding to the conversation is a real imperative. It's not to say, well, there's already holographic healing. I don't need to write anything more about that, because people who have read your book want more from you, but they also want more from authors in that field because they're looking for breadth and depth simultaneously. So what are your thoughts on that idea that, well, I don't need to write another book on a topic because it's already said, as compared to adding to a conversation that people are already interested in?
Well, a great question. And I feel that, as somebody who has been really working on getting the conversation out there, and I don't want to sit and write 10 books. I want to have my one book do a lot more for me than the idea of just one book. And so, for an example, if somebody is struggling to think of what they want to write in a book, write 10 articles or 5 articles or 7 articles on subject matters that you care about. And by an article, it's just, a few thousand words on each thing. And that could be, podcasts that you do. And you put together those 7 podcasts, and that becomes the text for your book. And so even if you're not the writer, so to say, you could have a podcast or record yourself talking about this subject matter with a friend, and you're explaining it to them. And then you take your transcript and you turn that into your book. And then you have whatever number, let's say seven podcasts that you can put out there. You have the book itself. And then when you're promoting your book, you're saying, oh, I'm talking about chapter 1 in my book. And that's the story that you're telling. And people, when they hear about what you're doing, they want more, right? Just like you were saying. And then they could order the book from Amazon or wherever you're having that self-published kind of idea. And then they can also listen to the other podcasts about the other chapters. You can package all those things together as a audio package, and there's so many different ways of going about it. It's about creating that conversation. You know, I'm not the strongest in social media, but I know that social media is about putting out content, and you take your strong ideas, your strong phrases, you know, things that you say all the time, and you can make a little snippet or a little screenshot of just your quote or the thing that you're talking about, and you make it personable and you put it out there, and you just start continuing in that conversation. And also, I would say that look at how you personally use social media. You know, I personally use a lot of YouTube, you know, more so than Facebook or Instagram or those kind of things. And I still post to those, or I still have my assistant post to those, but I understand the YouTube environment better. So I'm personally doing podcasts. I interview doctors like yourself through this Zoom environment, and then we edit the footage and we post out an abridged 3 to 5 minute little promo piece, and then come to our website to watch the full hour video and learn stuff that you can't talk about on YouTube, right? Kind of stuff. And, you know, that it keeps the conversation out there. It keeps the conversation going. I talk to doctors that are not necessarily in neurological rehabilitation. They're thought leaders within our profession. They're heads of schools or authors of other chiropractic type techniques and things of that nature. Because ultimately, we have a very small community. And if COVID taught me anything, it was how vulnerable our community is. You know, some areas, some states in the United States, they considered chiropractic non-essential. And instantly, you know, thankfully it was a short period of time, but instantly we saw the effect that can have on our profession. And so we need to stick together as a community. Doesn't matter if you do diversified and I do applied kinesiology or quantum neurology or whatever the techniques are. We're on the same direction, the same healing, natural healing progression of, and we want that natural healing freedom to practice the way we want to practice. So all these conversations strive together in our community. And I think it's so important for us to help one another out. This conversation that we're having, I think, is so valuable. That's why I love sharing these ideas, because we need every doctor to become their own author. We need every doctor to present themselves as an expert in whatever they're doing, you know, whether it's chiropractic biophysics or Atlas orthogonal or, you know, all these amazing techniques out there. I wish I could learn them all. You know, it's truly fascinating, our profession, and how many specialties we have within it. And I love learning, and it's just a blessing to be able to share what I do, but also have the opportunity to learn other techniques and other things that are out there. It's just, I just love it. It's fascinating. So.
That is amazing. And I loved what you said there about, you know, the books you've spoken about there fall within the quantum neurology area or niche or focus area, but it doesn't matter whether it's a biomechanical focus or whether it's an arthritis area. You have that opportunity to write in a field and then talk to your colleagues and bring your colleagues together with the same intention in mind of each adding to the conversation and then layering that for further influence and impact. So my question then is, multiple docs writing one book as a true individual anthology, or one doc working with other docs in a genre to create multiple publications, what do you think is going to have the greatest impact?
Well, ultimately, you know, each doctor doing a great conversation is important. And as I mentioned, if they spread it out over multiple conversations, they do the podcast and they do the book itself, and then they could do articles and that whole communication, instead of writing only one book, which is wonderful, if they start thinking of it as multiple projects as opposed to one project, they'll get a lot more use out of that effort. You know, it takes effort to write a book, as you know, and they'll get a lot more out of that if they think of multiple things that they could do with that project. And now when you have a team of doctors, whether it's quantum neurology or chiropractic biophysics or applied kinesiology, if they get a team of doctors within each of their community, and of course, we're all in the community of chiropractic and healing, right? So we're all talking about chiropractic and inside out and, above, down, inside out, and the healing principles of chiropractic, but we get the communications out there. I think we could completely change the paradigm for our profession if we all start doing this on a bigger scale. It'd be powerful.
And that was that third point. I mean, you brought it together beautifully there. You changed the paradigm because, and I think in my mind, at least I alluded to it with the one book, you might change your patients, help your community understand more about you. Multiple books, the worldwide understanding starts to shift and the paradigm shifts. I think it's a great opportunity. And as you said, it's not about just writing a book, it's about the layering effect. And in fact, on this platform, on my Author Mastery platform, I have an actual video series. I think it's 5 videos that talk about omnipresence, giving your ideas wings to fly, and talking about repurposing and republishing content so that you can take a book and turn it into articles and then into videos and then into a podcast, or simply take the podcasts you do and have them transcribed and turn them into articles, and then educational videos or explainer videos. Is this way, if you understand social media effectively, that you can create omnipresence, or being everywhere in front of the patients and the people in the community looking for, and they're actively looking for the message that you have, but you've got to be in that position of willingness to step boldly into the arena of sharing that message, which is an imperative. And as we start to come to towards the end here, I notice here at the back, I'm not sure if you can read that, it says Quantum Neurology Publications. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's a self-published book, so I kept it within the branding of quantum neurology, and the things that I've written, I call it under Quantum Neurology Publications. It hasn't really gone much further than my own writings and all my notes and presentations. I would say it's under that umbrella, although it's not officially out there in terms of all the other doctors self-published on their own. I did not participate in that, except for the I Am Loving Myself Healthy. I was a co-author on this book, but even so, it's Dr. Chauvin's book and project. And I'm really a independent person, and I like people to keep their independence. So even though we're working together, I don't want to, I want to help other people, but I don't want people to feel like they're limited under my umbrella of publication. So I have some digital products that I've written that are under that publication title as well. But I think what's important, it's all doable. You and I, before we started filming, I asked you, hey, who does your editing, and how do you get that thing on the bottom of your video, because that looks really sharp, and we each have had experiences, and good and bad and otherwise, on editing and outsourcing our work product. I know how to do everything myself, but I don't have the time to do it all myself, is the thing. So it's finding a team of people that help you deliver what you want to deliver, whether that's posting things on social media, editing your videos, delivering content. I always talk about, it's a team. Quantum neurology is a team, and I just happen to be the one that people see. It takes quite a few people to make me look this good. I have my wife, of course, who runs the company, my assistant, Caitlin, who helps me with all my digital product creation and slideshows and all that. And then we have Dan, who runs our website, manages quantumneurology.com, and all the sales and the marketing timing and all the stuff that I really don't know. I know what I want to happen. I just don't know how to deliver all those things and be who I am and be the creative person that I am. So I get help from people to do that. Some people could do it all themselves, and God bless them. That's wonderful. But as you start growing, you start needing help. And Editing is something that I could do myself, but it's helpful to have somebody else do the editing and the uploading and doing all those kind of things, so I could focus on creative endeavors.
Love that. Look, this has been an incredible conversation, Dr. George. And remember, everyone, you can grab Dr. George's book. You can go to quantumneurology.com. You can deep dive into this whole experience and serve humanity at a higher, more profound level as a result. I want to thank you for your incredible generosity. Dr. George, I mean, to come on do 3 episodes with me, I'm so grateful, so appreciative, humbled that you take both that time, put that effort and energy in. You're doing amazing things for the profession and for humanity. I appreciate you. Everyone, you know what we've got to do? We've got to go write books. We've got to add to the conversation. We've got to change the paradigm. It starts with you making a decision. Follow this man's lead, and let's make a change in the world. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.